Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Jeanine Poggi, Senior Editor here at Ad Age, and I'm live today with Jen Wong, Chief Operating Officer at Reddit. Hi, Jen. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jeanine. How are you?
How,
Thanks for having me.
how are you? I hope all is well over there.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We're on Long Island and on total lockdown. And well, I've learned to entertain a 2.5-year-old and introduce him to my colleagues via video conference and cook a lot.
Nice. What are you making? Anything interesting?
Well, I'm part of the trend of trying to learn how to make fresh bread. I have one successful loaf, but my sourdough starter is not my friend right now. So I'm
So
on my second sourdough starter.
no gifting it for the holidays then.
Not yet, not yet.
What's it been like trying to entertain the 2-year-old? I have the 5-year-old and 8-month-old here, so I know it's could be a feat, especially when we're doing things like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did request this morning. I was like, let's see if we can get him out of the house from about 10:30 to 11:30 this morning.
Good plan.
I mean, he's generally good, but it's hard because I'm in like the room next door. So basically, by the end of the day, he's had it. He comes in and he's like, "Work's done," or "I'm joining your video conference," and it's time to end the day. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And how are you? I mean, that ending of the day, I think, is interesting right now. How are you sort of delineating that and like saying, okay, it's time to turn off? Like, what are you doing
Yeah.
to differentiate work and home?
Yeah. I have a really set schedule. Actually, like structure has really helped us and me. So, like I basically in the morning, I cook breakfast, I spend time with him. He knows between 8:30 and 9, like I start work. I eat lunch 12 to 1. So I can tell him confidently, I'll see you at lunch. And then at dinner, we have dinner hard at 6. So I'll say, I'll see you at dinner, and I just stop. So I don't schedule anything. It's blocked out on my calendar. And that's really worked because I think it gives him a sense of, okay, boundaries. This is a boundary time. I'm working, but I'm coming back. And it also helps me structure work so that it doesn't spill over too much.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, structure, of course, and scheduling is always important with kids, but I think even for the adults, it's important of figuring out like when do I start work, when do I end
Yeah.
work, and how do I figure that out? I'm here with Jen Wong, Chief Operating Officer at Reddit, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them on our social channels. So obviously, Reddit, has been a huge platform during the pandemic for people to go, especially the coronavirus board. Like, how are you seeing traffic patterns? Like, how has consumer behavior changed since this all started?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating to see. I mean, Reddit. It's interesting. There's a community on Reddit called R, which is basically a signal for a subreddit coronavirus. And at the end of January, it was about 80,000 subscribers, and it's about 2 million now. So much like you would expect from Reddit users, they were kind of on top of the news very early. Um, and look, our traffic has exploded, just like other platforms. People have time, they're looking for information. They're really trying to get a sense of belonging and reassurance at this time. And they're kind of living this, like what we call like this alone together life, right? You're alone, physically isolated, but you want to be together with other people and still have a sense of belonging and togetherness. And so our daily users have grown a lot. They've been growing about 10% week over week, which is great because I think we're doing a good job of keeping people informed and also entertained. But we're seeing things like chat, really grow. Just people going in and wanting to talk to other people about any topic, frankly, to get that togetherness. We're seeing both desktop and phone growth. So we're actually active on all platforms as people work from home. No
Right.
surprise, there's a fair amount on desktop.
How is that
And
different than what you were seeing prior to all of this?
yeah, I'd say, our strongest growth has always been in Android and iOS, and desktop was kind of, more steady. And then now it's grown because people are on their computers a lot. And, the first pattern, and this is what you expect in like in the early part of March was what we call sort of stay safe, right? You saw like the coronavirus community start growing. It's now 2 million subscribers. And that's where people go to hear virologists and medical experts. Bill Gates did an Ask Me Anything AMA there. Go and talk about the condition and how to stay safe and projections and health, right? So a lot of people were really focused on staying safe and informed. And then what's happened is it's evolved into what we call more like stay sane and stay home. And so now you're dealing with, okay, I'm in quarantine and I need entertainment. I'm looking for what to watch. I'm cooking like myself. I'm in the sourdough community trying to make fresh bread, not successfully, but others are there really successfully. I'm very, very envious. You have, folks like Serious Eats coming on our live channel, which we call RPAN, doing quarantine cooking. You have the New York Times parenting editors coming on and doing an AMA about how are you working from, lots of questions about how are you working from home with like toddlers. Right. There's just a lot around how to get through this time. And the ones that I think are like particularly interesting are, no surprise, people are working on their health and fitness. I'm obsessively counting my steps every day, but they're really focused on like cycling right now and progress, because it's like such a long period of time that people can actually, like actually like see how they're doing. They're kind of focused on relationships. This is really interesting. I mean, a lot of people are in small spaces with spouses, a lot more time with, significant others and spouses and sometimes extended family members. So trying to get through that. There's a lot of humor, which I really appreciate. I love Reddit users because they bring some levity to everything. And, they're doing things like, playing golf in hallways with their kids and tracking their, the golf balls and, looking at like, okay, how do I get supplies using drones? I mean, just really interesting stuff. There's a lot of DIY. I think you and I were talking about that earlier. Like, I don't know about you, but as a parent, like I've been painting rocks and all sorts of things lately. And
anything you can find around the house is sort of fair game for crafting at this point.
Yeah. And in Life Hacks, this is a big subreddit. They had this DIY teddy bear, which was pretty cool, that you can make from a towel, which I intend to do tonight. I'm always looking for ideas. It's pretty amazing. So pretty much every day I'm trying to come up with something like this. Yeah. And, there's a lot of people looking at that. I'm baking a lot. Like I said, my bread quest, peanut butter bread, I don't know, somehow has exploded as an idea. Peanut butter is sort of a survival food, so it makes sense. That's also really gone crazy. Yeah,
kids love it, so you can easily throw that in. I know you're surprising your family with your smoothies, right? Like throwing in mystery ingredients that they have no idea is coming out at them.
All the leftovers go into egg cups and smoothies. I mean, I put vegetables, abandoned fruit, all sorts of things show up in a smoothie, and you just can't tell in the end.
So I want to give a couple of shout outs to people who are watching. We have Alejandro from Bangkok, Venkata from India, Michelle from South Africa, Sarah from Texas, Sean from Colorado, Joe from New Jersey, and Erica from New York. Thank you for being here with us. You're talking about all these different trends of people coming in different ways, perhaps different than they were using Reddit previously. How can marketers and advertisers be a part of this? And what are they doing to sort of be a part of these conversations?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, that's exciting to have such a global crew. Thanks for joining. Look, for marketers right now, and a lot of our partners have come to us with for advice on what to do at this time. And obviously the context is incredibly important. In some ways, the advice that we give marketers and partners is no different than what we normally say, because when you're interacting with communities who have a high bar for authenticity and are there for that, This is just a situation where that sensitivity is maybe a little higher, but no different. So, the things that we talk to our partners about are, share relevant and timely information that kind of is aware of the context of this crisis, right? So we've had, for example, like a partner sent talk about how to pay off your credit card debt at this time. People are really worried about their financial health. And that's a really great message that helps people with something that is very timely. We've had brands like Toyota, I think it was in Kirkland, actually post into a subreddit and saying, look, we had a COVID case, at our dealership, and we wanted to share that. And we wanted to share health links and be transparent about that. And here's what we're doing. And I think that's really positive, is that kind of sharing of information. We've also had brands really pivot. So, for example, one of our partners, Jimmy John's, had planned a campaign around their loyalty program. And given this crisis, was like, okay, we need to rethink this. And we worked with them on, the fact that they were changing from being focused on foot traffic and loyalty to actually pivoting to delivery. And they had this creative. I'm glad you're showing it. I think it's clever, it's funny, and it's context appropriate, right? It's like, hey, we're all working from home. I don't have a design team. This is the best I can do. I'm telling you, we're open for delivery, but this is kind of the best I got right now. And it's funny and it's great. We had Coors Light. They were, investing behind March Madness, which obviously didn't, happen this year. And we helped pull some insights around communities. And clearly, a lot of people on Reddit are spending time just trying to find like mental relaxation, humor. And, this is what they brought, which is like, hey, let's just chill. Let you have time now, be responsible, great message. And, really taps into the humor of what's happening on Reddit right now in the spirit. Netflix did something where they, and they're really active on our platform. They actually went on and polled people and said, where are you? What kind of programming do you like? What kind of recommendations would you like? And it was pretty cool to get like personal recommendations of what people could watch. So I think, all of that are examples of how I think brands are, and these are all, very quick adjustments in a matter of weeks in March to still, be context appropriate, to really understand what's happening, but still continue to get a message out that's important, either supporting good behaviors related to quarantine, which is always incredibly positive, or meeting a new consumer need or trend that has emerged because of quarantine. So in the case of Jimmy John's, hey, we're delivering, we're still getting you food just in a different way. So those are typically the ways that we're working with brands to kind of, talk to folks at this time.
Gotcha. I'm Jeanine Poggi, and I am here with Jen Wong, Chief Operating Officer at Reddit. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them on our social channels. So, one of the things in terms of the trends we're just seeing in general is it seems a lot of the brands are not doing necessarily a humorous route. The tone is much more serious on other platforms and other media. Is humor, though, more appropriate for the Reddit community? And, you mentioned humor a couple of times in this. Is that just something you would recommend right now for brands looking to reach people on Reddit?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think humor works on Reddit, but I think seriousness equally works. I mentioned before about Ascent helping people think about getting out of credit card debt. That is incredibly valued, right? Or even the Toyota example about transparency and providing resources to links, related to health and the CDC. So I think both work right now. Both are, I think, empathetic to the situation. It really depends on, what community you're talking to. We have a lot of advertisers who have within their ecosystem communities that are deeply affected by this crisis, and they're trying to support. It might be I'm in the hair care business and my professionals are unable to open their salons right now, and we want to support them. So it's a range. It happened to be that the examples I provided were, more on the humor side, and Reddit does have a sense of levity at this time, which is what people come to Reddit for at least for part of it. But there's a real sense of um, doing good, supporting others, supporting good behaviors, which I think can have also a very more serious tone and also more altruistic tone.
Of course, there's been in any situation, but during this time as well, any problems in terms of like shady ads in, social, digital.
Hmm.
How are you guys, rooting out and uncovering, those types of advertising?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Reddit is a brand safe place. It always is. We have ads policy, which prevents against bad actors, and we have human review and enforcement of that ads policy. So, for example, in the policies, there's a statement against profiteering off of situations like this, etc. Um, so we also have, moderation. We have targeting, both positive and negative targeting, so advertisers can have control over where they want to be. And right now, I think what's really active is our brand strategy team, who is just helping to be very thoughtful about the creative and how you talk to specific communities at this time. And that, I think, is the most important because it's changing so rapid. The crisis has different tones to it, and the consumer trends are changing week to week. So being able to rapidly do that, but also be thoughtful, I think is also really important. But our policies are very set, and we have a strict way of enforcing them at this time.
So we have a couple of questions from social. Are you seeing any COVID-19 fatigue on the platform?
I'm not sure what what you mean by fatigue. I'd be open to a follow-up question. Um,
Maybe an
but like,
overabundance, like people sort of wanting other kinds of content or not necessarily wanting to be hearing about, the pandemic as
yeah,
much potentially they are. That's how I'm reading it at least.
yeah. I think that points to the trend that I mentioned around stay safe that has evolved into stay safe and stay home. Stay safe really was about medical, health, stats, financial wellness, the stock market, like all those basics, really very pandemic specific. Now it's sort of like lockdown specific. People are just trying to live their lives, and that's hard because of quarantine and because of COVID, but they're really focused on trying to live their lives and also have a sense of belonging and community and be with other people at a time when they can't be. So I don't think that is still top of mind. It is trending every day. It's different every day. It evolves from how do I feed myself and acquire goods to how do I cut my hair to how do I entertain my son. It's just evolving, but it's still a consequence of the current situation. Is still very top of mind, and I don't think there's fatigue there.
Another question from social. How is Reddit tackling any misinformation on the platform?
Yeah, so we have on our platform layered moderation, which is, for us a very unique approach, I think, to making sure that we have high quality conversations. So, as some of you know, on Reddit, we have a layer of policy which really protects against what I call like the bad things, and we enforce that. And think of that as like the federal government, a small bill of rights that we enforce. Then there's something that's very unique to Reddit, which is the moderators and the subreddit rules. So every subreddit has a set of rules that they've written themselves and that they enforce with their moderators. And it's really things like, how they keep the conversation on topic and being civil. That's where they have like, maybe a hate speech policy, et cetera, all of that. And then on top of that, we have obviously our ads policy, et cetera, that makes sure that within the ad ecosystem, we have high quality ads and information. Um, all of that is our layered moderation system that ensures that good content floats to the top and bad content is removed or floats to the bottom. You probably noticed on Reddit we have an upvote system and a downvote system. Um, that's actually an incredibly democratic way of getting information about whether a piece of information is high quality or not. And unlike other platforms, that downvote is incredibly powerful because you can have a million upvotes, but if you have 5 million downvotes, that post is not going to get seen. So our mechanisms, and layered moderation continue to work.
Is the subreddit, the coronavirus subreddit, Reddit run or community run?
It's community run. There are actually, I think, about 70 mods now. And a lot of them are doctors, virologists, really credible people. And, part of, I think, the reason why it's so credible is, I mean, you can see the level of credibility that it has. Bill Gates himself came in and did an Ask Me Anything in this subreddit with the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation medical experts because it is such a large community that is so credible. Like, I mean, look, at this time, there isn't a lot of known information, right? It's emerging every day. So people are trying to sift through a lot of information that is new, et cetera. And the one thing that I can say is very good about Reddit is people are really good at being informed, and the conversation threads that you have at a time like this are incredibly helpful because people are bringing together their knowledge and they're vetting information so that the quality information rises to the top. And this is where experts are going. A lot of doctors I know, they're spending time here. And it is all propelled by the community.
I'm Jeanine Poggi here with Jen Wong, Chief Operating Officer at Reddit. We have a question from Erica on LinkedIn. Do you have an example of a more local or regional brand engaging successfully with Reddit users?
I'm trying to think. Well, I gave the example of Toyota and Kirtland because the dealership is very local, and I think that's what you'll see. The kind of thing that you'll see on Reddit. Trying to think. We have sometimes regional. We do less on the sort of SMB regional side, but I think auto is a good example of sometimes the dealerships. We have some retailers that are regional who are also, again, right now being transparent about, how they're operating given the desire, people don't want to be in retail footprints and they're switching to delivery. So a little bit on that front, but less on the advertising front.
And now we have a question from Iraq Lee on Facebook. What kind of industry changes do you see going forward post-COVID?
I think you're talking about the marketing industry or just in general. I think that my sense is right now it's a very challenging time for the industry. I do think that certain new consumer behaviors are emerging, and from an advertising point of view, marketers do tend to, in the long run, follow those behaviors. So, for example, we're seeing a lot of engagement with video and live streaming. Our network is called RPAN, and you're seeing that on some of our peer platforms. We're also seeing a lot more engagement in real-time chats because people want to have a real-time experience. I think that's going to be a bigger part of everybody's lives. And as a result, I think marketers and advertisers will think about how to be in those spaces even more. I think the other thing is that there's just, things that are changing in industry, right? Think about the entertainment industry. With the shutdown of movie theaters, some are holding back releases. Some are actually releasing and they realize that they're just going direct to streaming and they're trying out what it's like to maybe not have a theatrical window. And I think we'll see quite a few successes there. We're seeing them. And that's going to change, I think, how movies are released and how programming comes out. and what the viability is of streaming for original content, and that traditional path of theater and then to network or video and then VOD and then on, I think is probably fundamentally going to change as a result of this. So those kinds of things, every time there is this kind of disruption, I think when you see new consumer behaviors emerge, it will then change how marketers behave.
Any long-term implications for Reddit? Anything that you're thinking in terms of innovations that might stick, or things that you're thinking about post-pandemic that might become the new norm for the company?
Yeah, I mean, we just started, for example, live streaming last year, um, and we're seeing the level of engagement on live streaming grow. And I think we've always thought video and live streaming is a big part of our future, and I think that is this continues to validate that. I think the other is we have a economy of virtual currency, and watching that at this time is also very interesting, right? We're able to do awards that allow people to donate through that economy. That award system is very real time, and it works really well with live streaming. So we're seeing that also emerge as a new behavior. And I think we've always thought that that's a unique part of Reddit that was going to be a bigger part of our future. And I think this is also, we're seeing that crest up as well. Chat, which I mentioned before, real time chat. Reddit's always been known for conversation, and now adding the real time element, we're seeing how that delivers value and togetherness. I think that also is going to be a bigger part of our future. So some of these hypotheses we had that have really peaked up during this moment, I think will be a part of our future.
Is there advertising in the live stream? How is advertising living there?
There is no advertising today.
Not yet?
Not yet.
So you mentioned at the start of this some of the sourdough subreddit. Any other subreddits that you've been especially fond of and regularly?
Well, there's this one subreddit next to effing level, and it's gone to 2 million subscribers, and it's basically people showing extreme ways that they're acquiring goods at this time. It's where you get the drone pickups from Walgreens, and it's pretty incredible what's happening. So that one's pretty amazing. I love that. I'm spending a fair amount of time in, honestly, life hacks and quarantine activities is pretty good. Helps with thinking about ideas for my son. So I'm clearly very focused on just getting through family life right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, and be well.
Thanks, Jeanine.
Bye.
Stay well.